Hello, everyone, and welcome to week one of our class. I am going to make a video today just to help kind of orient us to the class regarding the content and working our way through the book material. I'm not going to be posting long lectures throughout the class. I'm going to be posting some sporadic videos that help to draw your attention to some of the core ideas I want you to focus on and maybe help explain some of the things that are common misunderstandings. But I also know how hard it is to sit and listen to a recorded 1 to 2 hour lecture, right? Which there is definitely that much content and more within our week. So I'm not going to do that to you, I promise. But I'm just going to help make a couple of videos that just kind of focus our attention within the class, within the content. So let's just start with week one. So week one, chapter one, this is a overview of social welfare, a little bit of background into social work itself. And really what we're doing is starting to build the foundation moving through the rest of the class of seeing what is kind of underlying and at work in the development and history of social welfare. So this class as a whole is going to be looking at social welfare programs and basically society's response to social issues over time, right? What did social issues look like pre-intervention? What did they look like kind of in early intervention? What did welfare look like when it was more formalized by the state, and how does it look now? So this class is going to look at all of those things. This first chapter really kind of sets you up for understanding the underlying pieces. So it looks at three kind of main things, right? It looks at the value systems. It looks at some of the dominant American value systems, and then it also starts to give you an overview of discrimination that is constantly at play in terms of how things pan out, in terms of how the social welfare system is portrayed and utilized. Okay, so those are kind of the main components. One of the things that I also think is important in this class, and I'm going to read a section here, is that in this class I want you to start to ask yourself the why question. Okay, especially when you get to the timeline assignment, it's going to be important for you over the course of this class to just ask yourself, like, why these systems exist? Why did this response come about over this response? Why, if we are actively engaged in addressing social issues, why do these social issues still exist, right? So on page 3 of your text, there's a really good paragraph. I just want to read this, and I think it kind of encapsulates what I'm getting at. It says, why is a good question, and one we should ask more often. Why have our welfare rolls grown? And why is there hunger in America? Why is there more crime and delinquency? Why are so many people homeless? Why are mental health clinics doing a booming business? Why are there so many people with problems? And why are prisons overflowing? Why do the costs of all forms of social welfare continue to rise? The answers lie in understanding the values that created society's institutions, how social welfare evolves from the interactions among these institutions, and what purposes social welfare really serves. So that paragraph is great at summarizing this class and this chapter specifically. Okay, so think about that. Always have the why question in mind. So for the rest of this video, I'm just going to highlight a couple things I want you to focus on in chapter 1, but you need to look into the whole chapter. Okay, the quiz questions are going to go beyond what I'm talking about in this video, and then the ideas that exist in chapter 1 are going to be persistent throughout all of the text. Okay, so please do not let this video supplement your reading. This is just to help kind of support the stuff that you're already doing. Okay, so a couple things I want to focus on are the dominant American values at play. So the book talks about several. I'm only going to focus on 3 kind of main ones because I want us to have an understanding of these and how they're in play. So the first is the Judeo-Christian values. So I talk about this from a historical perspective. It doesn't need in order for you to buy in and understand what I'm about to say next, you don't have to be religious. You don't have to have any particular views on Christianity. You don't have to identify as Christian. But from a historical perspective, the Judeo-Christian value system is probably the dominant value system that underlies social work and social welfare. In that, through the teachings of Judeo-Christian values, that there is this idea that you are to help those in need, that you are to help those in poverty, you are to help those who are suffering, you are to help those whose healthcare is suffering, right? And so all of those things come without preconditions, right? So in Christianity, they celebrate Jesus and his life and his works, and that is kind of the message that is taught in Christianity, is that he was that Jesus was responsible for going and helping those in need, right? Without and I think this is important here, without any sort of conditions. Okay, so the Judeo-Christian value system is the bedrock for the ethics side of social welfare and social work. However, there are two pieces here, right? There is the ethics and then there is the practice. And so the Judeo-Christian values do not necessarily reflect how social welfare practice and social work are carried out, okay? So one of the other things I want to talk about real briefly is the democratic egalitarianism and individualism. So this is a section in your text, and there are kind of two pieces here that you'll start to see how they affect people's view of those in need, right? So the first is that with democratic egalitarianism, the law says that everyone is free and equal under the law, okay? And so for many, this also kind of becomes an excuse where they say the law has us all equal. And so at this point, if there is ongoing suffering, it's not our fault, it's not the system's fault, because all folks have equality, right? And so they lean into this idea of individualism, because individualism says that everyone has the ability and the right to pursue a greater life, to actively work on bettering themselves, and that with hard work you can achieve anything, right? So there are these kind of two pieces at play. So there is the law saying everyone is free and equal, and then there is this value in the American system where we say, but we're all individuals. You can pursue any path that you want. You're free to do so, and the sky's the limit, right? There's nothing that is stopping you from pursuing anything further. And so that's an American value, okay? And so that kind of segues me to the last American value that I want to talk about, and that's the Protestant work ethic. So this is a really prevalent idea that permeates all of what you're going to be seeing moving forward. And it's a hidden idea. It's a hidden concept. It's not something that people are like often thinking about, but when you become aware of it, you're going to start to notice it over and over and over again. Okay, let me read a quick passage from the book that helps us to set the tone for the Protestant work ethic. This is going to be a really important concept I want you to think about and come back to. The Protestant work ethic is the moral basis for American capitalism, an economic system in which profit through business enterprise is mostly uncontrolled by governments. Capitalism depends on exploiting the labor of the poor, and for this reason, the wealthy have an interest in poverty. Since if there were no have-nots, there could be no one to work for them, no one to rent their buildings, no one from whom wealth could be derived. And this means that capitalist societies can never rid themselves of poverty. Poverty is the basis of wealth. The dependency of the rich on the poor is the fundamental hidden reality of this system. Okay, now this idea came out of the Protestant Reformation. Okay, and during that time period, work was equated to godliness and holiness, to the point to where individuals basically stated that that because I have wealth, that shows that I'm a more godly person, more deserving. And so there was this equation to holiness, godliness, and wealth. Okay, I was predestined by the powers that be to have wealth and to be successful. Okay, and that I got that wealth not because it was handed to me, but because I worked really hard for it, right? So even though there's this idea of kind of predestination, there's also this idea of, but it comes at a cost, and I'm the one working for it, right? Like I had to earn my wealth, and so the way that you see the Protestant work ethic played out the most in society is you hear people say this idea of pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Which just means like if you work harder, you'll overcome this thing. And that idea permeates so many things, right? We'll just try harder, do better next time. You know, you're just not giving all of your effort, right? And so this idea is really persistent. And through this are two concepts called the worthy and the unworthy poor. Okay, so society as a whole and social welfare, we are willing to help those that we consider the worthy poor. Okay, so the worthy poor are often the elderly, folks who have a substantial disability, and the youth. Okay, so basically individuals who by no fault of their own can't work hard enough to earn wealth. Okay, and then everyone else is the unworthy poor, right? So if you're not doing well in life, it's your fault. If you don't have wealth, if you don't have the resources you need, that's on you. Okay, and as a society, we don't help the unworthy poor, right? When I say we, as in the American we, not we as in social workers. We like to put more barriers in place. We like to say that this is your fault, it's not our fault. You need to change, we don't need to change, right? It's really easy for us to pass the buck and say, because of this idea of individualism, that this is on you, this isn't on us, and we don't kind of hold the mirror up as a society to ask what we could be doing different. We just say, you need to be doing that differently, okay? And so you're going to see this idea pop up over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, look at you know, I don't mean to like point fingers at anyone, but you know, go look at your Facebook feeds. Okay, look at some of your family members and friends, and just start to read through and see how many individuals kind of echo those same ideas, right? Where there's this real finger pointing outward and no realization that there's also, you know, that old saying where if there's one finger pointing at you, there's three pointing back at me. See how many people are pointing that finger outward without any of that self-reflection coming back towards them. That is the basis of the Protestant work ethic, right? You do better, and then you'll get what you deserve. Okay, so those are some of the main concepts that I wanted to talk about in chapter 1. I want you to keep diving in. I want you to look further. I want you to read about the other dominant social American values that are affecting the social welfare system, and then also dive into discrimination. They talk a lot about that. One of the things that they do talk about is white privilege. I know that sometimes that's a controversial topic, but I'm here to say definitively that white privilege is a real thing, and that oftentimes the denial of white privilege falls back to that very last thing I was talking about the Protestant work ethic, is that it really falls back to this idea of individualism and society's view of you're not doing well because you're not doing well, not because the system as a whole has been rigged against you, right? And so white privilege is a real thing and affects a lot of different areas, social welfare among them. So please read through all of that as well. Like I said, I'm going to keep this video short. I'm going to post more videos throughout the class as well. I may do it chapter to chapter. I may kind of wait and summarize some ideas, but I don't want to overly bog you guys down with a lot of recorded information. This class is going to be really kind of on you to keep at pace, 1 chapter a week. Get out there, read the PowerPoints to give you an insight as to how to approach the chapter, and then read the chapter, do your discussion boards. Remember, they're post first format, so it's important to me that you're doing the work, not that what comes out is accurate, right? There's some opinion here, and I want there to be a discussion. Okay, so get your discussion boards posted, and then follow up with your quizzes, or do those and vice versa, right? Maybe the quizzes will help you to formulate your thoughts heading into the discussion board. But anyways, I hope this helps. I hope that as you read through the chapter, this helps bring some additional clarification. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thanks, guys.